He's an original Colt 45 and one of the most popular Astros in franchise history. At 75 years old, Bob Aspromonte still makes his home here in Houston, giving back to the community that welcomed him with open arms some 51 years ago. In part one of our 5-part series, What About Bob?, we take a stroll down memory lane, starting where it all began, Brooklyn, New York, when Bobby the Kid met Jackie Robinson.
Relief pitcher and Roback finds number 14, Bob Aspromonte, tough in the clutch. Aspromonte, who formerly belonged to these same Dodgers, sends a satisfying poke well into the left field seats for a home run.
Oh, here's a good one. See Jackie, Carl Erskine, Pee Wee Reese, God, my boy Gil Hodges, Aspro. And this is a fella that I idolized as a kid, even though he was so much older. That's Joe DiMaggio, always with a Yankee uniform. He coached the A's for like 4 weeks during spring training, and that's when we played against him. This is a very special situation. This is Gil Hodges. Gil Hodges was long Jackie Robinson, who took care of that kid when he joined the Brooklyn Dodgers. And Gil and I created a relationship that was incredible.
Take me back to that, 17 years old. What is that like to sign with the Brooklyn Dodgers?
The fellow that was really watching me play for a long time was Al Campanis. He was a top manager and scout for the Dodgers. And I knew the interest was there, and I had a very comfortable feeling. My older brother, because all three of us played professional ball. My brother Charlie, the oldest one, did, and he was like my agent then. And my brother Kenny, who played for the Red Sox, Cleveland, and managed the Cleveland Indians for 3 years. So we were all baseball-oriented people, and we played professional like that. That graduating from high school, and then 3 days later, here's this contract comes in, and he said, Bobby, I want you to go to the Brooklyn Dodgers. Well, this little skinny kid was really shook up about that, and I'll never forget when I took that field, Walter Olson, the manager, he says, Bobby, go field some ground balls with Jackie, Pee Wee Reese, and Gil Hodges. I said, what? He says, just go there and field the ground before the game. We all field ground balls before. And I had this oversized glove that I used. And I was fielding ground, and Jackie comes up and says, Bobby, that's more of an outfielder's glove. He says, you need an infielder's glove, shorter fingers. Here, use my glove. And I kept using it. And he said, see the difference? I said, yes. And then I said, thank you, Jackie. He said, no, Bobby, that's your glove. I'm giving you that glove. And that's how it all started. And Jackie and I, the relationship, he really took care of me in a lot of ways.
How'd you play with Jackie Robinson's glove?
I did pretty well. I didn't play the regular games, but practice I did well.
And whatever became of that glove?
I had it for over 40-some-odd years. I gave it to very special people. This is my brother Kenny. He played for the Cubs, and we played on the same field together the first game. And Kenny hit a sharp ground ball to the third base line. I dove backhand and I threw him out. And everybody couldn't believe, that's your brother. What are you doing?
So I was looking and I saw you signed your first deal. Do you remember how much you signed for?
You ready?
I'm ready.
I signed for $6,000 for 2 years. And then he took me to Japan. The Japanese paid us $3,000 for that trip. Just think what that meant.
Wow.
That boat bought the first car. Oh, my car. And this is another fellow who took care of me for a long time, Tommy Lasorda.
Young Tommy Lasorda.
I was with him a month ago. I went to spring training in Arizona with the Dodgers. And he brings back a lot of great memories, but he's funny. You know, he creates it up, brings it up to date. And all the young minor leaguers, they all follow him around, you know. And he yells at them and swears at them.
And you were also the last Brooklyn Dodger active to retire.
The last Brooklyn Dodger. What a feeling that is when you look at all the superstars. But I was only 17 and 18 years old at the time. I come from a school in Brooklyn, New York called Lafayette High School. We generated 16 major leaguers. And we have one superstar named Sandy Koufax. Incredible school. What we have done in a very sports-minded area. When I signed my contract, Sandy was already with the Dodgers. In the first road trip, they put the two Lafayette High School boys together on a road trip in the Dodgers. So it is a great memory.
such an engrossing guy, and I just know from talking with you about the preparation of this piece that there's so many more stories yet to be told.
Oh, it was hard to cut it down. I had an amazing time. I mean, you sit with him and you're just reliving baseball history and the golden era of baseball, and it's amazing.
It's really fascinating.
And of course, this series will continue all week long. Tomorrow, in part 2 of our series with Bob Aspromonte, he talks about the very first game at Colt Stadium in 1962. 6 years after he signed with the Dodgers, he found himself here in Houston starting a new franchise. He'll talk about that and what it was like to play for the Colt 45.
Looking forward to it, and check it out on csnhouston.com as well.
Welcome back to Sportsnet Central with Steve Bunin. I'm Marius Payton. Jason Castro may be the lone all-star for the Astros this season, but he follows a long line of stars to shine for the organization. Joining us now with more on one of Houston's original legends is Kelli Johnson.
Well, he was born in Brooklyn, New York. Bob Aspromonte was part of the original Colt 45, selected in the second round of the 1962 expansion draft. Aspromonte went from being mostly a bench player in L.A., whose good looks got more attention than his game, to being a star right here in Houston with the records to prove it. In part 2 of our series, What About Bob?, we meet Bobby the Colt 45.
Well, we're just about all set to play ball here this afternoon in the inaugural game. First major league appearance for the Houston Colt 45.
There's a lot of old history here. This Gene Nelson, the Colt 45s. That's the kind of stadium we played in.
For the Colt 45s, Bob Aspromonte will lead off. He'll be at third base.
What is that?
Well, Ted, my batting...
That's not a reporter, right?
My batting average really is right. That was Miss Astro. Well, really, see my Colt 45? I was Miss Colt 45.
You don't say that every day.
When you look back, this is a 20-year-old kid at Colt 45 Stadium.
Handsome Bob. How much pride do you take in being one of the original Colt 45s?
It's a tremendous feeling when you look back, and especially we just celebrated the 50th anniversary last year, and to bring up all the highlights and all of the things we did as a team, playing in a minor league ballpark, watching this incredible dome stadium being built right alongside. And you're a young kid, 20 years old, and you're out there playing every day, which is a great opportunity. It was really a great experience to come in with a new franchise, new people, and create the baseball atmosphere here.
But take me back to when you're a kid. You sign at 17 with your hometown Brooklyn Dodgers, and then all of a sudden, 5-6 years later, you're drafted in the expansion draft by Houston. What were your emotions like? What do you remember of that day?
Everyone thought I was going to be drafted by the New York Mets to come back home. But Paul Richards surprised a lot of the Dodgers because each selection removed 5 names from the draft. So they never thought that I would be the first one drafted. So when they selected me, it surprised the New York Mets because they were going to do it maybe the second or third choice.
Did you know anything about Houston? What did you think about Texas?
Well, I knew very little at the time, but what I did know is the opportunity of coming up with a new franchise, which is totally different. And that's what I think inspired a lot of young players and some of the veterans we had on the ball club to really help and have special clinics for the young players, the young fans. And we generated the enthusiasm and interest in the ball club for a new franchise. And it was fun doing it.
Opening day. You're the starting third baseman. You beat the Cubs. You had a 3-for-4 day, 3 runs scored. What do you remember of that day?
Taking the field, that was extremely special. We had Bobby Chanis as our pitcher. But the first at bat and the first hitter for the franchise, and then to come through with a base hit was really exciting.
Here's the pitch into Aspromonte. There's a swing and a line drive in the left field, and it's in there for a base hit. So the first Colt is on with a base hit.
I'll tell you, the fans really reacted. They were all standing up and applauding. And it was the first of everything. First run scored, first base hit, a lot of things that took place in that first game that made it long-lasting memories. See, all over Tokyo.
I heard it was compared to a barn-like thing.
Some days it really was.
And it had rattlesnakes, too, and issues like that?
Well, yeah, I think it was more of a museum for all the kids as well. We set aside just about everything.
What was Colt Stadium like to play in?
It was a minor league ballpark, temporarily built just for the dome to be completed. And like I said, a lot of young players, it was fun, you know. But the outside temperatures was incredible here, and mosquitoes. And I'll never forget some of the older veterans coming from all established ball clubs like the Dodgers and Yankees and Giants. They couldn't believe it. They said, how do you play games in 100-degree temperatures all the time?
You became known as a great defensive third baseman. You had the record in the National League at one point.
57 consecutive games at third base, yeah.
Without an error.
Yeah.
How much pride did you take in your defense?
I really did take a lot of pride, and I had a very strong arm. I could throw it from all different positions, which really helped because you're coming in for a bunt play, I could release it from the grass up and had all those kind of adjustments. And I was very fortunate enough to make the adjustment going left and right.
Firing from the hip, Bob Willis gets the drop on the Braves who need a posse to round up this baseball.
So what was it like playing baseball in Houston back in the 60s?
We became like some of the famous players that I grew up with, Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee's, Mickey Mantle. Well, we became those players for a lot of kids here because it's the new franchise. This is one of the greatest players of them all. That's Willie Mays. We played against one another all my 14 years. Incredible athlete. And this is a real superstar, Hank Aaron. He and I played together with the 69 Braves and 70 Braves. Another superstar, Yogi Berra, when he coached the Mets. And we were teammates then, which is, you look back.
When it's all said and done, and then people talk about Bob Aspromonte, the Houston Colt 45, what do you hope that they say?
About the game, I was very fortunate. I had some great years, and it worked out very well. But I think the relationship over all of these years, from the start to where we are today, the name recognition is still there very strongly, and it makes me feel really good because it's not just because on the field, it's off the field.
Now, after just 3 seasons in Houston, the Colt 45s underwent a major makeover with a new look, a new name, and new state-of-the-art indoor stadium. It was also the beginning of Astro the Astro. Tomorrow in part 3 of our series, Bob Aspromonte talks about those first days playing in the Astrodome and why his first home run there was so special. And Maurice and Stevie also admitted to having a bit of a temper. Hard to believe with that great smile.
Welcome back to Sportsnet Central. As we continue our What About Bob series, Bob Aspromonte talks about the debut of the Astrodome and what the stadium meant to not only baseball, but to the city of Houston, and why his first home run there was one for the record books. For more, we turn to Kelli Johnson.
Bob Aspromonte starred for the Houston Astros during the golden age of baseball. Nicknamed Astro the Astro, he joked that he had warning track power, and yet it was his home run that will forever be etched in the Astrodome's history. In part 3 of our series, What About Bob?, we delve into those exciting first days playing in the 8th wonder of the world. What kind of nicknames did they have for you?
Astro the Astro, huh? They call me Aspro, huh?
In starting their corral, the Colts went with youth. This factor plus astute management should pay off when Houston moves into its ultra-modern, all-weather, air-conditioned sports stadium.
This is the first home run in the Dome Stadium. That's the first home run. That swing, they say.
Looks like a pretty good swing.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. I wish I could do it more often.
He played in the very first game in franchise history 50 years ago on this day, April 10th, 1962. Bob get the first hit and score the first run in franchise history in that 11-2 win over the Chicago Cubs at Colt Stadium.
To be the first player in franchise history to have the first hit and the first run scored. I mean, your name will always be in the books. Is that kind of surreal to think that you were the very first one?
Well, like I said, the anniversary was last year, the 50th anniversary, and all the memories of the past was brought up during that 2 to 3 week period. And I was able to throw out the game ball, the 50th anniversary of that day last year. Well, everything happened around there, all the interviews, and they were bringing up all the old stories. And it was bringing back a lot of great memories for myself, you know. And but to watch that take place And then to walk into the Dome Stadium in 1965, you cannot believe that feeling when you had everyone there, 50,000 people, in this incredible stadium that Judge Roy Hoffines and Ari Bob Smith put together. And it's, to this day, you know, they're talking 8 wonder of the world. Sure, it's beaten up now, but what it accomplished for the city of Houston is incredible.
The only major league field with a full roof will replace the conventional ballpark used by the Houston Colts. This will happen on opening day in 1965, when the world's biggest indoor arena will be ready for baseball action.
You're not a power hitter. You've had some very special home runs, one of those being the very first home run in the Astrodome. What do you remember of that?
Well, Kelly, you better check that out. I think that might have been the last one I hit there, too. No, the first home run was really exciting. Everybody really reacted. And those are great memories for someone that played a long time. To have those little special times when you can say, I was the first to do that. First home run in the Astrodome, which was kind of really exciting then. That was the first year of the Dome right there. But that was the spring training, so that was the first year of the Astro uniform.
Now, the Astrodome at the time, there was nothing like it, right?
Oh, absolutely nothing like it. That's why I give so much credit. In Houston, Texas at that time, there was only 500,000 people in the city of Houston. Just think of the growth, what that generated. I mean, you had over 2 million people just to come and visit the Dome, not during the games. And this is the first Astro for the 1,000 games. And they all come on the field. It's just incredible. It really was special.
Who's the toughest pitcher you ever faced?
That's pretty easy for me to say. You know, Bob Gibson, I got my first big league hit off of him. And I was telling you earlier, I think it took 15 years before I got my second hit off. But he was tough. He really was aggressive, and he had one of the greatest pitching years in the history of the game.
Is it true you were a bit of a hothead?
I think so.
Did you get kicked out of a few games?
I got out of a few games. I don't know why I acted that way, because it hurts the next at bat, it hurts the next game. But I really did. I was very aggressive that way. I would get a little fireball and react, and my manager said, Bobby, you can't do that. You got to just get your expressions out, tell them what you feel, but don't carry on the way you get thrown out of games.
Of course, you were traded to the Braves.
Uh-huh.
When you left here, what were you most proud of?
I think what I established, you know, I was fortunate to be the most valuable player, and I had a lot of fielding records and game-winning hits. Kelly, I'm going to say something right now that at the time, even I didn't know it, but I had 14 game-winning hits in the first year of the Dome Stadium.
Here's the 2-1 pitch to Astro. Ground ball to shortstop. That right to the ice, and the Astros win 1-0.
Young fans that know about that bring that story right back up. So when you look at those kind of memories and you talk about you had some great moments, you know, you weren't absolutely a star player, but you were very consistent. You played all the time, and you were the first and last player to leave from the original ball club. So I watched over 250 some odd ball players leave the franchise, from the first one to the last one when I left.
Now, Bob Aspromonte was in no way a power hitter. In a career that spanned 13 seasons, he hit just 60 home runs, once every 72 at-bats. And yet Astro smacked an Astros record 6 grand slams, including 2 for a young boy named Billy Bradley. In part 4 of our series, Bob explains how divine intervention helped him give hope to a young fan from Arkansas, a story even he has a tough time explaining. It's a story that reads like a Hollywood movie, and yet what happened between Bob Aspromonte and a 9-year-old boy named Billy Bradley played out on a real-life Major League Baseball field. It's a tale you may have heard before, but one that never ceases to amaze, and it's recounted by the hero himself and Billy's favorite player. It's Bobby and Billy, part 4 of our What About Bob series.
Aspromonte swung on, driven to left field, long drive, way back it goes, and it's up there. Bob Aspromonte crosses the plate with a grand slam home run.
This is the incredible Billy Bradley story. 3 right there. The little kid there was all bandaged up for almost 6 months of really going through an awful lot. That's when he came out to the game, as that little tape shows you, when we hit the last Grand Slam home run, how we were able to retrieve that ball and give it to Bill Bradley when everybody just went absolutely crazy. In fact, the game was stopped so that could take place.
That's unbelievable.
And that's when I had Willie Mays came by there and shook his hand too. Yeah, that's very special.
Billy Bradley. Do you still look back at that experience, that relationship, and find it hard to believe?
I call it the most incredible, kind of one of the divine intervention stories of how something like this happens. From this 9-year-old boy in Little Rock, Arkansas, who was playing Little League baseball, and bad weather started to come in, and the managers moved off, and there was lightning and storm, and little Bill Bradley, instead of going right to the dugout or back, he went to the water fountain underneath the tree and was struck by lightning and was blinded immediately. And he comes to Houston, and Louis Gerard was the doctor he chose, and the Astros and the Colt 45's organization at the time called me and says, "Bobby, would you sign Bill Bradley autograph?" And he said, "Where is Bill?" Well, he's in the hospital. I said, "Well, I'll go see him." So I took a ball, a bat, took it to the hospital, and walked to the room. The doctor says, "You know who's here, Billy? Bobby's here. Bobby's here to look at it." Oh, he was so excited. The kid was just laughing up a storm, bandages all over his head. And we talked for about 15 minutes about everything. But I said, "Billy, you got to be strong. You're going to get through this. We're all going to make sure everything happens for the positive side." And I said, "Okay, but I got to go back and go to the game now." He says, "Bobby, will you do me a favor? Will you hit me a home run?" I said, "Billy, I'm not a home run hitter, but I'll give you my best effort." And sure enough, in the last 9th inning, I hit a home run for him. And I'll never forget it, with Gene Nelson, the announcer. As I'm circling the bases, he's telling everybody, "This is for you, Bill Bradley. This is for you." He was operating on one eye at a time. He goes back. 6 weeks later, he comes back to Houston, and I take the family to lunch, and we do the same thing. And again, he ends up, says, "Bobby, would you hit me another home run?" I said, "Billy, you know, you're really pushing your luck, but I would rather get..." I said, "I'm going to do it again, just for you." Can't believe it. Last of the 10th inning, Sky scores tied 2-2. They hit a grand slam home run for him.
Pitch down to Aspromonte, swung on, driven to left field, long drive, way back it goes, and it's up there, a grand slam home run. Bob Aspromonte crosses the plate with a grand slam home run.
So now everybody's picking. It's going nationwide, and Billy's just really excited. He's starting to see Lou out of the operated eye. Following week, he goes operated on the other eye. He comes back the following year. Now, we're communicating all winter long, and he's improving dramatically, and there are things that are looking up. And again, we all get together. And then he says, "Bobby, would you hit me a home run I can see?" I said, "Billy, I'm getting a lot of help hitting these home runs. I'm going to hit this for you. I'm getting a tremendous amount of help. Isn't that Bob Aspromonte hitting? We're all hitting this for you." And sure enough, I get up in the first inning, hit another grand slam home run for him. And then he just went on from there.
Donner looks over to third. He's using that full windup now. Here's the pitch, and an Astro hits one to deep left field. Christopher way back in the corner. Home run! He has just hit his second grand slam of the year.
Gene, did you notice the little boy, Bill Bradley, the little blind boy from El Dorado, Arkansas? Bob Aspromonte pointed to him as he ran back to the dugout. That's his second grand slammer he's hit for that boy.
Well, this definitely has to be a thrill, and especially for little Bill Bradley. He made the motion as he went back into the dugout, pointing to Bill Bradley, who now can see.
And 2 years later, every time, "This one's for you, Billy," in the Arkansas paper, "This one for you, Bobby." He pitched his 6-inning no-hit game. And just incredible story. This goes on and on.
When you look back on your career, where do those moments with Billy Bradley stand?
When you talk about your baseball career, that comes into play immediately. It really does. It was an incredible highlight, and especially from a non-home run hitter to react like it did. I was very fortunate. The home runs, I hit a lot of grand slams. I have no idea why I hit grand slams. But I led the club in grand slam home runs for 40-some-odd years. So it's really interesting when you see all of that happening. It was very special.
Now, in an ironic twist, after his playing days, an accident with jumper cables left Bob partially blind in his right eye. And it was Billy who helped him through all of his surgeries. They remain friends to this day. Now, tomorrow in our series finale, Aspromonte shares with us exclusive home video of his trip with Jackie Robinson and the Brooklyn Dodgers to Japan in 1956. All week in our What About Bob series, we've reminisced with the Astros legend, whose baseball career started at age 17, playing alongside the great Jackie Robinson. And right after Bob Aspromonte signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers, he was swept away for the experience of a lifetime. That was 57 years ago, but the memories are still fresh today, as Bob takes us on a tour of his trip to Japan with Jackie in our series finale.
This is where Jackie, Rachel, and myself, as we visited other cowboys, Roger Craig and all the rest. You got, when you look at here, you look at Gil Hodges, Jackie Robinson's back here. That's 1956. And here I am over there. I think I was 11 years old then.
A young Bob.
This is actually Hiroshima. This is exactly where the bomb hit, in Hiroshima. And that was, you know, when you look at it, that was there. That was 12 years later.
A young kid from
and
Brooklyn.
nothing was left in that whole area.
Amazing.
And so this goes on and on, all different stories of Dodgers. Man, there's a lot of old history here. But it's an incredible story as we go through it. You see the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Goodwill Tour of Japan, 1956. This is when we finally arrived. That plane ride took us 38 hours with a prop engine.
Oh, wow.
You know, I was excited
That's a
about
loud
that.
flight. Was that your first flight?
It was my first flight like that. And I was all dressed up, and Charlie had me with his shirt and tie and everything else.
To be 18 years old and be invited to go to Japan with Jackie Robinson and the Brooklyn Dodgers, what was that experience like?
It was absolutely the most incredible feeling. That experience for 6 weeks, all over Japan and Hawaii. We played many games, the different museums that we attended, and some of the experiences of what happened during those years. What an incredible feeling that was when the entire ball club with the uniforms on. The way the people handled it, they just loved us there. I mean, they took care of all these players, and Jackie Robinson, that she was always a superstar, and Gil Hodges, really, the fans loved Gil Hodges. What a learning experience that was, 18 years old. And this is when we first went through the airport, and all the greetings and all the flowers and the way.
And how much were the Japanese fans aware of the Brooklyn Dodgers and Jackie Robinson?
Very much so. In fact, the interesting thing about that we were so well received, and the reception from the young as well as the old was incredible.
What were the fields like there? Did they have
surprising.
stadiums?
Yeah, it was pretty nice. No, they were pretty nice fields, you know, for like a minor league scene, as you can tell. Look how nice that looks. And great lighting, as you can tell.
Oh, wow.
I think, you know, it surprised us a little bit. Look at the crowds. I mean, you couldn't believe the reception and how they reacted.
And who were you guys playing?
Each area we would go, Hiroshima Co-op, we would play the local teams, which had their so-called major league environment. So they would all be, like, see the Giants here, Tokyo Giants.
Now, did you beat them badly every day?
That really, what it was incredible. There's some bad games. We got beat too, you know.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
So there were some competitive games.
Oh, yes. It made sure that took place. Jackie, Rachel. That was not, I think that was in Hiroshima. Every place we went, that's the way we were greeted.
Was Jackie Robinson like a rock star when he went over there?
He made, you know what made him so special is that he would not necessarily wave to everybody, make everybody feel, but he would steal his bases, which they loved. Oh, when he was sliding all over the place, they loved it. They really went crazy when they did that.
Did you get to play a lot on this tour?
Yeah, I played a little bit. Yeah, he gave me a few opportunities to play. Oh, here's a good one. See Jackie, Carl Erskine, Pee Wee Reese, God, my boy Gil Hodges. This is a great shot too. Jackie and Rachel and Carl Erskine, Duke Snyder, all Hall of Famers.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
What was he like to play with?
He would play very aggressively. He had the ability to feel well, steal bases, always moving in the right direction. I mean, he always made the game more exciting, but at the same time trying to advance that extra base all the time. And then he hit his home runs when it really counted, and he was the most valuable player and everything else. I mean, Jackie was a super player. Just think about what he went through being that player. There's old Jackie stealing home plate like he did in the States.
Did you see any bad treatment to him at that point? I mean, 1956, it was many years after he broke through, but what was his treatment like on a daily basis?
Kelly, I didn't see that, and I think the reason why I didn't see that is because the way Jackie was handling it, and Don Newcomb and Roy Campanella and Junior Gilliam, and how he made sure all of them handled themselves, that it was all part of the team. And Jackie was our superstar. So I always made sure it was around the geisha girls.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a shock. Two front and center with all the... one on each arm.
One on each arm. Yeah, help that kid.
That's amazing.
When you look at the memorabilia, what would this mean to somebody? It goes way back. It's interesting. A lot of years, Kelly.
A lot of experiences.
A lot of experience.
All started right there.
That kid right there. Yeah, quite an experience when you think about it.
Now, Bob Aspromonte's time with Jackie Robinson taught him what it truly means to be a leader. To this day, Aspro the Astro remains a leader in the Houston community, continuing to give back. In an era where records seem to be broken every day, Aspromonte's place in Astros history will never be erased. He is a living reminder of what makes the game so great. My thanks to Bob Aspromonte for opening his home and sharing with us the great stories of his career.